Hey there, I am Haley Jackshaw, and I will be presenting strategy number 6, Personal Relevant History from the Integrating Language Arts and Social Studies text. In this presentation, I will be focusing on making a second grade classroom more personal and engaging when learning about social studies and language arts. To begin the presentation, I would like to pose the question to you of how can I make a more personalized and interactive social studies lesson for second graders? For many students, it's hard to be able to connect with the history that is being taught to them, mainly because it's not representing their culture. It is no mystery that students learn more when they are interested in the topic at hand. So what better way to get a student excited and engaged than to make the history lesson about them and the current events taking place in their life right now? The time capsule, what do you think of? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Now that you've had some time to think about time capsules, what stuck with you the most? I've listed a few that came to my mind personally. When I think of a time capsule, I think of the people that put the artifacts in the time capsule for someone to open. Why were these personal belongings so significant at the time? And are they still significant to us today? As I had mentioned earlier in this presentation, I am building off of strategy number 6 from the Integrating Language Arts and Social Studies text, which is Personal Relevant History. There are many ways for teachers to personalize social studies for students to better relate to the topics at hand. This can be accomplished through refreshing old texts and relating it back to current events and issues that we might have today, as well as making sure that everyone's culture in your classroom is being equally represented throughout your class. This will provide an engaging and interactive lesson for all students. I've incorporated both social studies and language arts into my ILAS strategy, number 6, for personal relevant history. I have done so by having students write a letter about themselves and including one local or national current event for future students to read. Students will have to do research for this portion of the letter. By making this age appropriate for second graders, I would make sure to go through and list some sources for them that the sites are age appropriate and they can then choose different current event topics. This lesson is both personal and engaging for students. This can also be modified for older students to use. Perhaps even taking a class from the first grade and having them make a time capsule that they will one day open on their graduation day. When talking about social studies and incorporating personal relevant history, a lot can fall under one or more of the NCSS standards. I have chosen culture, people, places, and environments, along with individual development and identity, and time, continuity, and change as my NCSS themes. Now, let's take a closer look at each of these themes and how they correlate to strategy number 6 in personal relevant history. For starters, young learners can explore concepts of likeness and differences among cultural groups through language arts, as well as personal identifications through practices and beliefs. By having students write a letter introducing themselves, they are sharing their differences and/or similarities among cultural groups in their classroom. When students are writing this letter about themselves, it will be affected by the environment in which they grew up in. For instance, if a child were raised in California and they were asked to do the same project, They might talk about things totally different from a child raised in Montana. They might talk about going to the beach with their family, maybe they surf, etc. Whereas a child who's raised in Montana might talk about how they like skiing with their family or snowboarding. Maybe they fish or go hunting. All of this is affected by people, places, and the environment in which we are raised in. This project touches on individual development and identity as well. Students are making a personal letter about themselves. This could include their hobbies, interests, favorite book, sport, or even movie. All of these things are centered around their identity and developing their individuality at this age. And the last theme is time, continuity, and change. When future students go to open the time capsule, they will be able to make observations to what is possibly different now than compared to the time when the students put the time capsule away. Perhaps ask what observations they made about the things inside the time capsule. Are they still relevant today? A time capsule has the potential to incite a deeper level of thinking in students. You could even take this further by having students write possible ideas of what they think the world will be like by the time their capsule is opened. Remember when you were younger and you were thinking we were going to be driving hover cars in the year 2020? This is the same concept for younger students. The possibilities are endless. Use this as a closure activity. Have students make comparisons to how the world has changed in the last few years for them. What new technology has came about? What new movies are they into? This is a great way to compare the past to present. The Time Capsule Project asks students to write a letter to future students to read, along with a local or national current event of their choice that is age appropriate. This falls under the language arts standard, where the student will write a narrative in which they recount a well-elaborated event or a short sequence of events. They will also include details to describe the actions, thoughts, and feelings, using temporal words to signal event order and provide a sense of closure, as well as reading standards for English language arts. A few things to think about when implementing a time capsule project in your classroom. Well, first of all, this is something you can do each year with your students. You don't have to stop after the first year. There is no right or wrong way of going about a time capsule. You can save it for each class and present it to them on their graduation day, like I had mentioned earlier in this presentation. Or, like I said, you can present it in a few years to another group of students at the same age. Time capsules are a way to preserve thoughts, artifacts, and stories for future learners to enjoy and reflect on. This creates a cycle of fun, interactive learning while incorporating both social studies and language arts standards. When beginning this project, students may have a few questions before, during, and after the time capsule project. Students may want to know things such as, well, who am I writing my letter to? After explaining to them that this letter is going to be for a little boy or girl their age that will be receiving the letter in a few years, this will help them to know their audience and who they are writing for. Another question may be, how do I find a current event? This is something that younger students especially will need help with. By providing them with reliable sources and possibly a list of current events they can choose from that are age appropriate so they don't get overwhelmed will help them immensely. They may even want to share this experience with their family members at home. By encouraging them to do so, they can make their own time capsules. Maybe ask questions to them, what's important to you that you'd like to put in a time capsule? Time capsules can be a very personal, interactive, and engaging activity for any classroom. Not only does it get students thinking about what the world might look like when the future students open their capsule up and read their letters, but they will also be thinking of how things have already changed for them and how things are continually changing. This is a great way to get students comparing the past to present day, from clothes that they're wearing to the food that they're eating, and even the advancements in technology. A time capsule from the past that you don't have to plan years out for is a traveling trunk. You can order these and have them shipped right to your school for your class to enjoy. This fun time capsule can hold a lot of different artifacts for students to touch and see in person. This is great for either beginning a unit or finishing one. Traveling trunks can supplement textbooks in new and exciting ways to interest students. While each trunk focuses on using primary sources in the classroom, they may be used outside of the social studies classroom and in cross-curricular instruction as well. Well, that's a wrap. And what is the conclusion? When it comes to teaching social studies, it's important to make personal, relevant, and engaging criteria for students. As teachers, it is our job to find ways to bring the classroom to life and personalize our lessons for our students, which leads to a higher level student engagement and overall deeper content knowledge. Through making a time capsule for the future or ordering one from the past, students will be meeting standards for social studies and language arts. Thank you.